Hello and welcome to the Fierce Urgency of Now in Today's Schools podcast. I am Dr. Cynthia Mama J. Johnson, a voice of hope in education, and I am honored to be your host. As always, thank you for joining me for another episode. Before we jump in, let me remind you why we gather. The Fierce Urgency of Now in Today's Schools podcast is dedicated to disrupting, interrupting, and dismantling barriers to changing student outcomes in our nation's schools. Why? Because our children need us now more than ever before. So we've got to meet them where they are, take them to a whole new level. And I want you to know today, my guest is one of those educators who not only works with students and her work impacts students, but she's out there working with the leaders to make sure that student outcomes change. So welcome in Dr. Kimberly D. Parrott to our family.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
I'll tell you what, it has been an honor to put a face with a name. We met on LinkedIn, just following one another, pouring in. Come on now, somebody knows who we're
Yes.
talking in. I'm pouring into her, she's pouring into me, but we just see each other. But a week ago, we had the opportunity to meet face to face. And what a
Yes.
time, what a time, what a time we had. It was an honor to be able to put a face and a name and to feel that spirit. When we hugged, we already knew that we were a kindred
Yes.
spirit. So I want you to
Yes.
know, sit down, get ready. I want you to know I got my tambourine ready, okay?
Yes.
We are about to have a time. We keep it real on this podcast. We ain't trying to be fancy. We're
Right.
trying to save lives, transform outcomes, not only
Yes.
for our students, but also for the grown folks, as my grandma would say. So let me take a moment just to introduce Dr. Kimberly D. Parrott to you. She is a seasoned educational leader with over 2 decades of experience driving systemic change across diverse school communities. She currently serves as the Assistant Director of Campus Leadership Support at Region 4 Education Service Center, which is in Houston, Texas, where she empowers campus administrators through let me say it right, strategic coaching, professional development, and leadership capacity building. Now, I want you to know there's a lot more I could read about her today, but I'm going to step back because Dr. Parrott, I want you to tell us about who you are and what you want us to know.
I want to say thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. I never pass up an opportunity to just pour into leaders, but I do want to take this opportunity. Thank you for pouring into me. And last week I did share with Mama J. I'm very protective about my pour as a
Yes.
leader,
Hmm,
who
hmm,
I pour into and who pours into me. And just Mama J, I was exposed to her before last week, but as she said, that last week was our first physical connection, but our
yes.
connection started way before that when I was just introduced to her leadership, her transformational and transparent leadership. And
Thank
so
you.
I just want to thank you for pouring, and I want to thank you for being transparent with your testimony and how it just continued to impact leaders. And
Oh,
so my leadership journey led me to Region 4 just because God saw fit to allow me to have some experiences, and those
hmm,
experiences just connected to one another. I always tell people I've been everything in a school except for the custodian and a cook. And I'm sure at some point in time I had to do that too.
right,
But
right,
I
right.
am a very proud native of Louisiana, very proud native. But I have been in Houston for 30 years. It doesn't make
Ooh,
me a Houstonian.
right.
It makes me a lover and appreciator of Houston. But
Yes.
I am a Louisiana girl at heart, and I am also the very proud daughter of two educators. And transparently, I never thought that education was going to be my journey in life, but I'm so
Hmm,
glad that it is. I have been a teacher, a counselor, assistant principal, associate principal, building principal, executive principal, director of professional development. And now I get to lead campus leadership support at Region 4. And I always say that and say that's not a flex, that's just a
right,
fact.
right,
And I'm glad that it's a fact because all of those journeys have contributed to who I am in this season.
right,
I
right,
compare everything, Mama J, to a big good old pot of gumbo because I'm a Louisiana girl.
right.
And it's just like you mix all of those experiences together, you put them in that pot of gumbo, and it is amazing.
Woo,
And
come on
so
now.
that is what that is who I am, and I am so proud that he thinks so highly of me to bless me with this journey that continues to evolve. And
Uh-huh.
I'm just constantly amazed at how it grows. And I'm grateful because I get to collaborate and partner with other leaders on their leadership journey. And it
Yeah.
just continues to impact my own.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And the work that you're doing is impacting the leaders, but in turn, it's really transforming school campuses and children's lives. That's what it's all about.
It is. It is.
Ooh, so I'll
You
tell you
know,
what.
I'm a mother in addition to being a leader and an educator. And
Yeah,
so I get to see it from so many different, standpoints. I see it as a parent. I see it as an educator.
right.
I see it as a daughter of educators. I get to see from so many perspectives. And so that is the biggest impact is that I know that my collaboration and my partnership with campus leaders, teachers, administrators, and
Yeah.
how that directly impacts student experiences.
Oh, I love it.
So,
I love it. I
yes,
love it. I'll tell you what, you've already jumped ahead. You've almost answered all of one question, but we're gonna get to it. So let me start off with the first question. What brings you to the work of supporting and educating today's youth, and what keeps you doing the work?
I honestly, I'm drawn to it.
Okay.
Um, as a professional educator, and we say that, right? We know that we're
Uh-huh.
in the profession of education,
Right.
but I take it very seriously when I can say I
Yes.
am proudly, I'm a professional educator. And what
Yes.
does that mean? It means that I am intentional
Right.
about the work of education,
Right.
but then I choose to have experiences outside of my job where I'm volunteering with this youth initiative, or I'm sitting on this committee to support youth, or I'm volunteering in my church with the youth.
Right.
And one of the reasons to answer the question, what brings me to the work, number one, I do believe it's a calling. I believe
Okay.
it's an
Come
assignment.
on.
I
Come
believe it's
on.
a form of
Come on.
ministry. I believe,
Yes.
quite honestly, that I was hand selected to have these experiences, and I'm so humbled. That's not speaking to me and all that I know. It is honestly a privilege. It
Yes.
is a privilege. It is an honor. And Mama J, I've been in it long enough now where I'm going out and I see students I taught years ago, and they're saying, "Is that you, Miss Smith?" I'm like, "Oh, I was fresh out of college with that last name." Okay.
Right. Right.
And
Right.
so what draws me to the work is being intentional about making a contribution. I want to leave people better than I found them.
Come on now. Come on.
And
Come on. Come
in
on.
doing that, in doing that, I see it when it comes down to, if we're looking at it from a student experience, a lot of times our students don't feel valued or heard,
Right.
or don't feel, and you can even see it when students are shocked that an adult gives them the
Right.
opportunity to have conversation. I
Right.
see it when we're talking about teachers who are now even overwhelmed, questioning if they made the right decision. It doesn't look like what they heard or even what they experienced. They look at it from a
Yes.
leader's perspective, because I always say, who's going to support the supporter? Who's going to be there
Uh-huh.
for the leader? And so all of those experiences for me continues to draw me to the work and to continue to fill my bucket because I know what I needed. And
Yes.
so I just want to be that to other people.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Talk to us just a little bit about your role at Region 4 and how is this impacting the lives of administrators, teachers, but ultimately, how is it transforming student outcomes?
I'm so eager to answer that question because it's something that I think about daily. Because in my different roles, just throughout my educational career, I've had a different distance or closeness to students. Some may
Okay.
think because I have I'm leading the campus leadership support department that I may not have that direct impact to students, but I
Yeah.
get to look at it from a different perspective now.
Yes.
So I partner, as I mentioned, and collaborate with school leaders, and one of the things I've noticed is the fact that vulnerability and transparency, humility,
Yes.
just having that honest, safe space is a place that some leaders feel that they don't have. And
Right.
so, as a
Right.
result of that, whether it's with their own emotional balance or with them having to decipher, okay, all of the new frameworks or things that we have that we're being held accountable for, I need to know, what does that look like from theory to practice? What does that look like in
Yes.
practicality? And
Yes.
so, as a result of that, a lot of individuals, whether it's leaders or teachers, may not feel they have that safe space.
Uh,
And as a result of that, students going to feel that impact.
Yes, they will.
So, as the campus leadership support assistant director, I have experiences where I collaborate with campus leaders, whether
Yes.
it's through required training, whether it's through customized training that they're asking for, saying, you know what, Dr. Parrott, we know what we need, we just don't know how to communicate it.
Uh-huh.
Or if it's through a cohort experience, I had just an amazing time this past year partnering with campus assistant principals and emerging
Okay.
leaders who have said, I'm making this courageous step in order to be a better leader or to lead a
Right.
staff of individuals. But truth be told, I don't know how. Truth be told, I have to juggle my emotions and my aspirations. And then just sitting with them and through frameworks that are aligned to our state frameworks and saying, you really don't have to make that choice where one is going to outshine the other or where you feel
Right.
like you're not giving equity of time to both. And as a result of partnering with those campus leaders and those teachers, we're seeing the efforts of their work and
Yes.
obviously the students benefit. So when
Woo!
we're holding individuals accountable to be authentic, but
Yeah.
also being held accountable to make sure that they're aligning the curriculum, that they're going by the state
Right.
standards,
Right.
students can't help but benefit. So we see the impact there. So for
That's
me,
right.
supporting those who support students is directly supporting students and increasing their performance.
Woo! I tell you what. Woo! I tell you what. Now, those that are listening today, I know you can already feel the fire that's burning
It's
within our
there.
souls because we're doing the work because we do the work because we love it. And we've been
Right.
called to do it. And I just believe that God has given us a special portion
Yes.
to be true, to truly uplifting today's youth and those that work with youth. So let me take a moment to ask you this question. From your lens and your perspective,
Mhm.
what is the fierce urgency of now in today's schools?
Well, I think our students didn't get a delay in some of the challenges that they're experiencing.
Hmm.
So if
Hmm.
those challenges weren't delayed, why are our efforts and our energy and our implementation, why does that need to be delayed?
Hmm.
So that
Come on.
urgency of now
Right.
is just the need,
Right.
right? The
Right.
need and extending what that need looks like. When we're talking about the needs of students, whether it's from a socio emotional standpoint
Right.
of them experiencing certain things that may hinder or complicate their learning experiences, from their academic deficiencies to even some financial barriers that students
Uh-huh.
experience, whatever it may be,
Right.
that need is now. It's not delayed. And
Right.
the complications that they experience because of that need is now.
Right.
So, because the need is now, the level of urgency to address the need is now.
Yes.
We know that effort, we
Uh-huh.
know that our implementation, we know that our response to certain things can be immediate.
Right.
A lot of times we may hear, oh, well, doc, it's going to take a while for that to change. But effort, right?
Yes.
Implementation, our
Yes.
urgency, that's immediate. And
Yes.
when we are consistent and we hold individuals accountable, that change that we know
Uh-huh.
is going to be inevitable, it's going to happen.
It's going
It's
to
going to
happen.
happen. So if the concerns and the needs of our students, of our parents, of our teachers, of our leaders, if that is right now, that's not delayed, then
Right.
our urgency to address those needs shouldn't be delayed either.
I love that. I love that. And that really goes really in line with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., where those words came from, the fierce urgency of now. I added the in today's schools, but when he was
Right,
talking about those words in his I Have a Dream speech, he talked about now is the time.
right.
It's not the time for us to sit back and gradually move and do things. There's an urgency of right now. Now he was talking about
Absolutely.
discrimination and jobs for those for African Americans and all those different things, racism and all those different topics. But we take that same urgency of then and apply it to our schools today. We've got to move in a different way. People kind of tease me because they know that now is my work. What are we doing with right now? People
Right,
say, okay, we'll do that next year. No, why can't we do it right now?
right,
That's what is so important. That's what will keep us moving forward when we really understand that there is a fierce urgency. When I see children out here in the stores, at restaurants, in the schools, and the choices that they're made, I think about a group of students that I saw, middle school students on Saturday. And one moment I looked at them And I was looking for a bus because I'm like, okay, it's 2 o'clock on a Saturday, and all of these students are out here. There was no bus around. I knew that something was about to go down.
Mm-hmm.
And as sure as I turned my back and then I turned back around, people started running. Adults
Right.
were jumping out of their cars to get to our children. But I look at the choices that they're making now. And I'm going to say this, and I know this is a whole nother podcast. Our children are looking at the grown folks
Mm-hmm.
and how we are tearing each other down, how we're
Mm-hmm.
calling each other names, how we're using terminology and video and all these different things to tear people apart. That's
Right.
what our children are doing. So when these students got to fighting and all of these different things, and I spent years as a middle school principal, and I thought, okay,
Right.
I know
As
what's
well.
about to go down. I know what is going on. But it got to be so bad that I had to make a decision now because the students were not responding to the adults because they didn't know these people that had jumped out of the cars. I had no choice but to call the police
Mm-hmm.
because somebody was going to be ended up more injured than what they were. So I said
Right.
all that to say is that we have to take that urgency of now. I use that illustration that there was a lot of things I could have just got in my car and just went on down the road. I couldn't do that.
Right.
If I had watched the news that night and heard about something happening on Coronado Drive and children being injured or maybe even killed, and I didn't do my part as an educator,
Right.
I'm a first responder right here, right now. Woo, thank
I
you.
often
Thank you.
I often tell leaders when we sit and we observe bad practices, it's like
Uh-huh.
failure to render aid.
Come on now. Come
It's
on. Come
it's a
on.
crime.
Woo.
And so one of the things that
Oh,
I can while you were just speaking, one of the things that I can say, even in my role
yes.
right now, is the fact the intentionality. That's
Yes.
another part that's extremely
Yes.
important. The intentionality to
Yes.
support leaders and to support individuals that support our school systems.
Yes.
So we went through a wonderful exercise when you asked us about specific words and what those words meant, if it was a
Uh-huh.
detriment or if it was a benefit.
Right.
And so, even a much bigger picture than that, the benefit and the wonderful opportunity to be in spaces that's
Right.
saying we know that you are connected to, many students,
Right.
millions,
Right.
right? And as a result of being connected to those students, as a result of being connected to those school districts, let us equip you. Let's pour into you. Let's make sure that we increase your leadership efficacy because we know the fingerprint that you're going to leave. As
Yeah.
a region of our size, it may seem as if, oh, it's too big to have
Right.
personal touch.
Right.
But I can say with authenticity and I can say with pride that we are so intentional. And you were a part of that intention.
Woo, thank
You
you.
saw firsthand how you were selected to speak to various groups of leaders of
Right.
saying, going back to that urgency of now, we have to equip the individuals that
Come on.
have an impact on our school systems
Yes.
to make
Yes.
sure that number one, they have that opportunity to have either a microscope
Yeah.
mindset where they're going to magnify what the
Right.
problem is,
Right.
or they're going to have a mirror mindset where they're going
Right.
to look in the mirror and see a
Come
reflection of
on.
themselves.
Come on.
And
Come
they're
on.
going to say, how can I be a part of this urgency?
Right.
What
Right.
part do I play? And so I'm so privileged, and I've been in many different learning environments, whether I'm on this side of the fence of being the learner or on that side of the fence of leading the learners.
Right.
And one of the things I can say is the intentionality of what is poured into the individual that's
Right.
connected to the school systems. It's more than what we think.
Right.
A lot of
Yes.
times people would think that the impact or the contribution on students is those individuals that have a direct connection to
Uh-huh.
students. I'm talking about just physical
Right.
distance, right?
Right.
And you saw firsthand, we were a collection of regional leaders
Yes.
that are intentional about making an impact, intentional about being reflective of our North Star goal,
Right.
intentional about saying, we are here to not tell you what to do,
Right.
but partner with you in doing what
Yes.
needs to be done.
I
And
love that.
so
Go ahead. Go ahead.
it,
Finish
it
up.
is
Go ahead.
it's not and we've conversed offline, so I always say I'm saran wrap transparent. And so it's something that refills me,
Yeah.
because the work that we do is not just urgent, it's not just intentional, but it's
Uh-huh.
an outpouring.
Right.
And so if you keep outpouring and nothing is poured back into you,
Come on.
then you have a tendency of not providing the very best to those that you
Right.
support.
Right.
And so to be intentional a couple of weeks ago, with our leadership council of saying, we're going to take a moment and we're going to talk about the urgency of now.
Yeah.
And I know I'm very, very off from that question that was
That's
asked,
all right.
but
That's all right. Keep
that's
talking.
just
Go on. Go
evidence.
on.
That's just evidence of what we're talking about in the urgency of now, right?
Right.
And just
Right.
the work that we have to do. We know the response that we're supposed to have.
Right.
And so we get in, we do the work, the boots on the ground, but then we're also intentional about refueling.
Right.
And so I believe that just be intentional with giving you that acknowledgement and that
I
gratitude
appreciate
was
that.
important right then. So
Well, I appreciate just your words, and like you said, I try to be. My goal is to be intentional. I mean, I don't show up with canned presentations. I
you
show
do
up.
not.
I meet the moment. I mean,
Yeah.
people don't have me to come in just to do something canned. I come
Hmm.
in and I meet the moment, and I go before the Lord. Lord, show me what I'm supposed to do. What I'm.
Right.
Lord, fill my mouth with worthwhile stuff, and when I said enough, just tell me to go and sit on down. That's what's important to me. But you know what? I love the fact that you and we already know that we have so many things in common. We're finding
Right.
all of this out today. But you use
Right.
the word today. You use the word equip. Oh my gosh. When I
Yes.
talk to children, when I talk to adults, I want to make sure that they are fully equipped. Somebody's like,
Yes.
fully equipped with all that you need to navigate now. I want you to be fully equipped to do all
Yes.
the work that needs to be, regardless of how it comes to you. You cannot select who comes to you,
Right.
but how they
Right.
meet you, that's your responsibility. That's on you.
100%.
Woo,
And you
woo.
would be amazed at students who have such an appreciation
Yeah.
that you took the time. If you think about your favorite teacher, and I know if I asked you who that favorite
Yes.
teacher was, you may give me one name, you may give me more.
Yes.
But one of the
Yes.
things that I know I would bet is the fact that that teacher, that person, that administrator made you feel
Yeah.
special.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons why is because they were prescriptive in how
Uh-huh.
they supported you. They were
Yes.
prescriptive in how they made you feel as if, wait a minute, you thought enough of me. You
Right.
thought enough of me
Right.
to make sure that I can understand. You thought enough of me that despite my perceived inability to
Uh-huh.
make that connection,
Right.
that you were going to take enough time. So there are students out there that truly appreciate the
Yes.
time taken to
Yes.
make sure that they make the connection.
Woo. I tell
And
you.
so, just like there are students that appreciate that, there are teachers that
Yes.
appreciate those leaders that take the time to make sure that they can make sure that those students get the connection. And it's just this thematic connection that we have.
Uh-huh.
And so, for me, and I shared this before, and I'm going to share it again. One of the biggest takeaways, I had so many. I was telling you that you saw my head just nodding and writing and nodding and writing. But one of the major things for me is the specificity that was taken when you talk to our leaders, because you just mentioned about canned presentations. When you were talking about, I know the work that Region 4 is doing, when
Right.
I know the work that the state of Texas is doing, and you were telling us based on our locale and where we were
Uh-huh.
and the changes that were happening, the changes that we're a part of.
Right.
And if I know as a seasoned leader how that made me feel, I'm thinking about those students. And I'm thinking about those students that can feel the effort.
Right.
I'm going to say that again. There is a difference in saying, oh, I'm making the effort, but can your students feel the effort?
Hmm.
And so
Come
that
on.
is truly, it just undergirds that urgency of now
Yes.
and just the work that we're doing. So that's one of the things that I definitely believe when we know we're being poured into
Mm-hmm.
and how that impacts students' lives,
Right.
and teachers and parents
Yes.
and
Yes.
all of those stakeholders that's just connected to school systems, how
Uh-huh.
valuable that is.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that. And I appreciate all that you said, because that's just God just confirming, affirming for me that the work that I do and how I go about doing it is truly what's making a difference. It's not just going in like, say, okay, I got it. I got this one thing. I got this one presentation I do everywhere I go. No, I don't do that. I don't do that.
Mm-mm.
And it takes
You
time.
you
I'm
you
telling you,
do
it takes time.
transform individuals that have that microscope mentality where they magnify the problem.
Right. Right.
Right?
I
If
hear
you
you.
take an ant, you put it under a microscope, I mean that thing is huge. It's all
Huge.
encompassing, right?
Right. Right.
And no one is discrediting the fact that that little ant, his little ant friends can probably cause some problems, right? But but when you walk in with a microscope mentality where you
Uh-huh.
magnify what the issue is,
Right.
and then you walk out with a mirror mentality and say, okay, what can I do?
Right.
What reflection I can have of the
Yes.
input that I'm giving to the solution. That's
Right.
significant. That's
Yeah, I
significant.
love that. I love that. I love that. Let me take you to our next question, because I always want to be cognizant of people's time, and we,
Correct.
let me tell you, but we are so, this is so rich and so full. But you said some of these things, but I want to get you right to this point right now. What are you willing to disrupt, interrupt, and dismantle to ensure that students have access and opportunities to thrive?
So that question was posed, and I gave it some thought. And even though I definitely believe they all lead to the same thing. So disrupting, interrupting, and
Right.
dismantling.
Right.
First of all, is the thought process of what does support look like.
Hmm.
We can hear it on so many different levels. Students may say, well, I don't have that at home, or, I don't have access to this, or I don't have
Right.
access to that. And if we're talking about disrupting, dismantling, and interrupting, the thought process of what support looks like.
Right.
And also going a little bit deeper in that, it's down to authenticity and accountability,
Yes, come on now. Come on.
right?
Double A.
Authenticity
Double A.
and
Come on now.
accountability. And so, even when it comes down to disrupting, interrupting, and dismantling, first of all, you have to acknowledge what is to acknowledge that we need to disrupt that level of misinformation
Yes.
or a misconception,
Right.
right?
Right.
And then when we're talking about disrupting, interrupting, and dismantling, we have to dissect and break that thing apart.
Right.
So when we hear and we truly hear the commonalities, whether it's students, whether it's teachers, whether it's parents, whether it's leaders,
Yeah.
we have to get that accountability and that authenticity. We have to be authentic with saying, we
Yes.
can do it. We
Yes.
can do it. No
Yes.
one said that wasn't going to be difficult. No one said that certain challenges don't exist, but we have to be authentic just with our mindsets.
Uh-huh.
Yes, we can do
Yes.
it. We can support our students, we can support
Woo.
our leaders and our
Mm.
teachers, and we can see
Mm.
increase. And so that accountability piece, though, Doc, accountability extends way beyond that letter grade that we get. It
Come on.
extends beyond test scores. And I'm
Yes.
not saying that those things are not important, but accountability also encompasses, hey, I'm holding you accountable to do this.
Yes.
And I'm
Yes.
going to also include that level of support that's needed. I'm going to also make sure that we provide those resources that are needed, even
Uh-huh.
to those who feel like they don't have access to, whatever that looks like. And so when it comes down to accountability and authenticity, holding those two things at the forefront of
Uh-huh.
us disrupting and interrupting and dismantling this belief that we can't make it, we got to have those two things as our foundation.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Now that leads me to this final question. Oh, my heart is full right now. I'm trying to get my mind together. Take 1 minute to tell
Mm-hmm.
us, what is your call to action
Mm-hmm.
that you want to leave our audience with today?
My hesitation in my response is not because I don't know.
Uh-huh.
It is because it does take me, it does find me sometimes at a loss for words.
Mm-hmm.
My call to action is honestly going back to that authenticity.
Okay.
And number one, every individual connected to a school system of being authentic. And when I'm saying that, being authentic, being vulnerable, being transparent, whether from a student perspective, I don't understand, I don't get it, I don't know
Right.
how to do this.
Uh-huh.
And I guarantee you, from a student to a superintendent, there's going to be a moment of, I don't understand, I don't get it, I don't know how to
Right.
do this. And so we often talk about creating safe spaces,
Uh-huh.
but also understanding that your space of where you exist right now, with that authenticity, immediately creates that safe space of saying, I feel safe in my understanding, in my advocacy, in
Yes.
my voice of saying, I need, I need. And you can
Yeah.
fill in the blank of what that need is.
Right.
So our call to action that I am led every single day in this work
Uh-huh.
is, am I being authentic to whatever the need is? If
Right.
I'm servicing a group of teachers, am I being authentic of saying, let me give you that space to tell me
Yes.
what is it that you feel you need to improve your performance? And I guarantee you, when we have those authentic conversations, we walk out with those individuals who thought they needed, realizing they did possess the
Right.
very things that they thought they needed and that
Right.
they can succeed. And even in those situations when they don't, how do we collaborate with them to make sure that there are resources? Again, I speak of the beauty and the benefit of being at a regional center that provides so many resources to
Yes.
our
Woo.
vast areas.
Right.
And that call to action is, take today, take
Yeah.
today right now to be honest and authentic. And a lot of times when we say that, we hear more of the deficit than the
Yeah.
opportunities.
Right.
But I guarantee you, I'm gonna hold you accountable, because I told you those my two words: authenticity and
Uh-huh.
accountability. I'm gonna hold you accountable for every deficit that you mentioned. Let's talk about some of these opportunities that we
Right.
have as well.
Right.
And
Right.
so that call to action of authenticity is, give it to me straight,
Yeah.
but also in that, give me those opportunities. And I promise you, I'm going to extend one to you to collaborate and support and make sure that you can achieve those goals that you need to achieve.
Woo! Girl, I got to put a tambourine to that, because let me tell you something. The words that you said today is truly what moves us forward in the fierce urgency of now in today's schools. You know, I told you before we came on that you are the very first person honored
I'm
to
so
have you
humbled.
as my guest, as the first person, as a follow-up to a presentation. I said, you know what? I'm just going to bring some people out of the audience, and just not to come fill up my head, but I just want
Right.
to know, what did you walk away with? And you've made it crystal clear that there is a fierce urgency of now, and there's a role for accountability, there's a role for authenticity, all of these different things that means everything in the schools that we work with today, as well as with the leaders, with the teachers, and with the students, and also with our families. So let me say this.
100%.
Yeah.
And you expose that to us with the another big takeaway. I keep telling you, I keep having these takeaways from your time with us, was just the word, like this word. Tell me the benefit or tell me the detriment of this
Right.
word, opportunity.
Right.
Because I remember that was what my word
That was
was.
your word. That was your
So
word.
yes, and so when we sit here and we have those opportunities that we're poured into, I
Yes.
told you this: what is learned here leaves here.
Yes. Yes.
And so, how do we continue that cyclical experience of,
Yes.
this is poured into me, I'm going to pour into someone else? And so, if the needs are urgent,
Uh-huh.
then the response to the needs need to be urgent now.
Come on.
And I just believe that. So that was just so timely when you talked about the urgency of now, because the needs are right now. So
I
our
love
response to those needs need to be now as well.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, Dr.
Thank
Parrott, for
you.
being, just an absolutely phenomenal guest, and doing this whole new role of follow-up after a presentation like over a week ago. But let me say this in closing to our audience. You know that Mama J keeps it real. And
Mm-hmm.
there's so much that is going on in the world. There's so much that is going on in our nation. But look at our schools. Schools are microcosms of society. But then I always say, do they have to be microcosms of society? Why can't they be what we want them to become? Why can't
Right.
they be villages of hope? For years I've used that terminology, transforming schools into villages of hope. Well, I want you to know that there's a lot of things that are going on. And when the storms come,
Mm-hmm.
and I want you to know that there's storms out there right now.
Yeah.
We don't have to be, um, we don't have to go under because of the
Right.
storms, because there's so many challenges, or so many, the wind is blowing to and from and taking us under. But I want you to know that when you have an anchor, come on now, somebody knows what I'm talking about. When
Mhm.
hope is your anchor, that word that is back there, that hope keeps you going even when it gets tough.
Right.
You hold on. So I want to
Right.
say to this to everybody in closing today, regardless of what it looks like and sounds like, regardless of how dark it gets, and there are times right now that it's really dark. Mama J is always going to find a reason and a way to be the light in this dark and dismal world. And I am always going to let my light shine, let it shine, let it shine. Dr. Parrott, thank you
Thank you.
for
Thank you.
pouring into us today. May his
Thank
peace
you.
be with you until we meet again.
Thank you.